Welcome, everybody, to episode 45 of Empty the Bench. That's Nick Fodera. I'm Nick Morgasen. And before we get to the actual story, you might see in our social media, it's a story. But first, we have a little breaking news coming into the Empty the Bench newsroom here. And Nick, you want to tell them what it is?
Well, according to Brian Hoke, who was the Yankees beat writer, the first to break this story, actually, Aroldis Chapman has tested positive for coronavirus, and according to Yankees manager Aaron Boone, will not be with the team for the foreseeable future. Now, according to Lindsay Adler, the Yankees beat writer for The Athletic, he apparently passed the first intake test that they gave him as he came up from Florida, but apparently this is the results of a subsequent test after he was feeling quote unquote mild symptoms. So to this news, I can just say, can we just cancel the season already, for God's sake?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying this, you've been saying this, Tom has been saying this, who couldn't be with us today, but basically, I've been saying cancel the damn season, for crying out loud. We're seeing all these positive tests happening. I mean, they showed the percentages, I think, yesterday. Some of the big national writers were putting out, it's under 1%, but we're seeing big names.
Under 1%, but these are big names. You're going to need to be able to play games, win games, and complete a season. I feel like I'm talking, you know what, this is... Oh my God! The level of stupidity in terms of dealing with this virus is just off the charts.
It's terrible.
Nobody is taking this seriously. We'll never get past this if people don't take this seriously. Wear masks, social distance. How many times do I have to say something?
You mean, how many times do we have to say to people, if you're not wearing a mask, then you shouldn't be out in public? I mean, we're talking about an issue where we're finally seeing New York come down from the amount of coronavirus because we stayed in the longest out of the whole country. But now we're starting to see Texas that hit over the 10,000 mark. We're seeing Florida that's now approaching close to 13,000 positive tests a day. So look at these issues we're having. You know what I mean?
Look, I know everybody always wants to tell us to stick to our spots, but you know what? This affects sports, ladies and gentlemen. This affects everything that we do, including what the two of us are sitting here talking to you about right now.
Right.
But again, I don't mean to rant, and I don't want to get off track here. I'm just saying this is getting on what little nerves I have left.
Right. And just to kind of tidy this up, and then we'll get to the actual topics. There's a lot of NFL to get to. We'll get to that in about a minute and a half or so. But the coronavirus testing, whether it's Major League Baseball, whether it's the NHL, whether it's the NBA, or if Roger Goodell thinks he's going to start the NFL season on time, he might have another thing coming with all the issues.
He is dreaming if he thinks that is actually going to happen in this case.
I mean, I think the NFL and the NFLPA came out yesterday and said that they haven't come to a deal yet to even come to a scheduling situation. So how can we even think about Mr. Moneybags Goodell trying to get back on the field on time?
And I think that's going to be a very, very interesting Zoom meeting.
Right.
But you know what? What an interesting segue. You were talking about the NFL, because we probably should transition to the story we were actually going to open with.
And I think
for this episode,
the one you're talking about is this one, which is the Washington Redskins name controversy. Now, Tom and I actually did a really good interview. Sorry, Nick, you couldn't be there for it. But we actually spoke to Ben Standig of The Athletic. He covers the Redskins and the Wizards. And if you want to check it out, it's on our Facebook page under our video section if you want to check it out. And we talked about the controversy. We talked about this in our last episode, all three of us, about what the hell is going on with the... What I don't know. You want to call them the Washington no names at this point?
The Washington insert name here.
But so we find out that Snyder, the owner, Daniel Snyder, originally said he wanted a different Native American logo and has since taken that back. I mean, we're talking about issues. Now he's saying that they're gonna go away from the Native American name situation. Nick, make sense of this for me.
Well, you cannot ascribe logic to a situation in which everyone involved is a complete lightspeed moron and a bigot to boot. Because honestly, what exactly do you need? Does it need to have an Indian name? Seriously, slur aside, and Redskin is a slur. Let's not go over that again. It's a slur. You wouldn't like it if it was the Washington Caucasians, people that are complaining about this. But again, it is a slur. But do you need to have Native American imagery? Drop it. Seriously, drop it.
I mean,
you don't need that anymore.
The other issue you have, and I brought this up in the interview we did with Ben, that if it's the Redskins, what's next? The Cleveland Indians was a name that they were talking about. Now, that's not as bad, but the Indians were talking about it. The Braves were talking about it. I mean,
the Braves and the Indians and the Chiefs, I can understand because those words are not meant to be derogatory. In fact, it's more of a descriptor than it is derogatory. However,
right.
You could make the argument about cultural appropriation, about a bunch of drunken white people doing an Indian chop, or doing some kind of weird bastardized version of a war chant, but that's neither here nor there.
The tomahawk chop?
Yeah. Again, but these are things that Dan Snyder has never thought of, even though we've been screaming in his face about the nickname for the past before we were even doing any sort of podcasting show at all, right? The three of us.
Yes, we were screaming about Daniel Snyder being. We thought that. Oh my God, why is the Cowboys owner Jerry Jones? We thought he was the worst owner in all of the NFL, and now I think Daniel Snyder has taken that title over due to not trying to fix a situation. Now, I said this to you, and I said this to Tom a while ago, that if they had figured out a way to maybe donate money to the Indian tribes, then it wouldn't sound so bad if they had the name, right?
Yeah, you can make an argument about that. I'm not really sure about how solid that argument is, especially considering when you are still using what is essentially the Indian equivalent of the N-word. But in terms of, even the charities that Dan Snyder has run in trying to build bridges, placate, butter up the Native American organizations that were complaining about it, he hasn't even shared any money with them. He did. In fact, there was an article that just came out. I'm blanking on the source of it, but said that they had done charitable donations to that tribe in the first year of that organization's existence, and then never did anything again. So again, we cannot ascribe the noble motives to Dan Snyder because we've seen that this man has no other morals other than what makes him money.
Right, and actually, it's funny that you brought that up because we also spoke to Ben Standig about Fedex and Coca-Cola and all these big Pepsi, big sponsors that are spending huge sponsorship dollars, and FedEx is the real issue because I think that's the major naming rights sponsor of the Redskins.
Of the stadium itself, because they have the naming rights to the stadium. It's FedEx Field.
Right. So
but the fact that they're saying something about it now and not 5 years ago, it's indicative of how far this conversation has gotten over the past.
Right.
Well, time doesn't work this way in the pandemic, so I'm going to say 2 months.
Who knows what time is at this point?
I don't even. There's not even days of the week anymore, folks. It's just yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Right. But long story short, I think the FedEx CEO is a minority owner in the Redskins organization. That's how they got the naming rights to FedEx Field and dealing with the situation. Now they're putting pressure to change the name. So now, is it true, like Tom had said in our last interview, in our last episode, that why all of a sudden is there pressure to change the name now when there was pressure to change the name 3 to 4 years ago? So I'm curious to see what that whole situation leads to and what the name will actually be, And I'll leave it with this. The Redskins are talking about the Warriors and the Red Tails and all that stuff. But I digress. Let's move on to another situation. And this broke over the past couple of days, Nick. Is DeSean Jackson anti-Semitic?
Well, he's definitely not making it. He's definitely not providing any evidence to the contrary. I'll say that. And for those of you who blessedly are unaware of this,
or under a rock,
or under a rock, which, by the way, if you're under a rock, is there space under there? Seriously, I'd like to be living under that rock at this point.
Yeah.
But if you don't know, he posted something on his Instagram about a quote that was mistakenly attributed to Adolf Hitler about Jews wanting to take over the world or some such nonsense.
It was ridiculous. I mean, like I saw that long, and Nick, you're gonna have to make the cliche statement again because I'm gonna ask you, what do you usually say to people about social media?
Yeah, normally I would say watch what you tweet, but I really would. Why are you even thinking those things, much less tweeting them? It's just ridiculous. I mean, you're Jewish. I mean, but this is just ridiculous. What? Look, this is obviously some abhorrent behavior you're not going to chasten away. So honestly, I think the best thing to do is to cut him. Honestly, this is just. I mean, it's bad enough. It's bad enough that the NFL has a race problem. You don't need to be dragging anti-Semitic memes into it.
Well, did you see what Ariel Helwani said on Twitter about the DeSean Jackson comments, or no?
I didn't see what he said. I know he got big mad.
I have it right here. So this is what direct quote from Ariel Helwani on Twitter. Steven Jackson doing a phenomenal job of ruining all the goodwill he built up recently. What a sad, disappointing turn of events. Get out of here with this absolute hateful anti-Semitic nonsense.
And you gotta really, really, really make Ariel Helwani mad before he actually says something, because it's like, wow.
But so people know, Ariel Helwani is Jewish. So
yeah, he's very much Jewish. He's American Jewish, though, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Not that matters, but
not that it matters. No.
Again, as far as punitive actions, we haven't really heard anything yet. We've said the Eagles have released a statement. There was a vague statement at that, saying that they had disciplined DeSean Jackson, but no further actions would be considered. So they're not cutting him and they're not suspending him, as far as we know.
So that's the Roger Goodell method, right? Like we'll discipline in-house, but we won't say how we're doing it. But actually, DeSean Jackson yesterday came out with a statement that said, "Today I had an opportunity to speak with 94-year-old Holocaust survivor, Mr. Edward Mosberg. Thank you, Mr. Mosberg, for your valuable time and insight today. I'm taking this time to continue with educating myself."
This seems to be a problem with the Eagles because Riley Cooper
did the same thing.
Remember Riley Cooper, folks?
He did the same thing.
This seems to be a not insignificant racism problem and anti-Semitism and problem with the NFL, and especially with the Eagles. There was something in the water there. Am I crazy in assuming that this is the second time this has happened where someone on your team has spouted racial epithets?
No, and we've seen this in
racist epithets, I should say.
Yeah, we've seen this in the NFL where there's constant issues of racism, or I don't know if you want to call it sexual assault or sexual abuse issues.
No, you can definitely characterize it as such.
And
it's off the field, but still.
Right. It's all off the field issues. And Roger Goodell just says, all right, 2 checks. Okay, we're done.
See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. We know that. There's a reason why I call him Roger 2 checks Goodell, folks.
Right. And it's just it's frustrating to me, as I guess I could say I'm an NFL fan. That's a little tough to say actually. But so he's too busy trying to get the sport back on the field and trying to get all the money that the NFL needs. And he's not taking care of the issues at hand, whether that's the civil unrest situation or the coronavirus situation, which, like I said earlier, the NFL and the NFLPA are still trying to get their shit together and get this whole situation ratified. But I digress at this point. So there was a bigger piece of news before all this happened. And let's move on to Mr. Mahomes. So Patrick Mahomes gets a 10-year. Now, I'm not stuttering when I say this. 10-year, $503 million extension
to his existing deal, which was, I think, his rookie contract, right?
Yes.
So, for those of you who can't fathom that amount of money, that is the largest contract given out to a pro athlete in North American sports. $500 million.
It's actually not the biggest in sports. It's the biggest in the NFL.
It's not the biggest in sports?
It's not. No, I went and checked. It's the biggest NFL contract. I think Floyd's contract was bigger. I think there was a few more bigger, but it's the biggest NFL contract by far.
But still, the NFL, who's really known for more parsimony than anything else, meaning being cheap. But oh my god, that's a lot of money. And I gotta say, you know what? He deserves it. The guy is a bona fide star. He's
probably underpaid.
Yeah, he brought the Chiefs back from obscurity and won a friggin' Super Bowl. If that's not worth whatever, a Brinks truck full of money, and this is a Brinks truck full of money. In fact, if you put $503 million to occupy physical space, it probably would fill up a Brinks truck. So that's not just a figure of speech here. He deserves it.
But it's so crazy. I mean, a lot of people are saying he's underpaid. Like, he should have been paid more. I mean, give me a break. Let's calm down a little bit here. $503 million.
And something tells me that the Chiefs are not going to be finishing that contract out, or they're going to find a way to try and get out of it.
Right. And you know what's even funnier, Nick? You're going to have to hold your breath on this one. The injury guarantee is $140 million.
Now, context is necessary. So what an injury guarantee is defined as, even if he gets injured, they're guaranteeing him a portion of that money.
Right. So that basically means I sprain an ankle and I can't play ever again. $140 million is guaranteed of that 503.
So he will be wealthy enough to never have to work for about another 50 lifetimes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Even if tomorrow he pulls a Joe Theismann.
Yes.
It's going to be oh my god, that's so much money. But you know what? Again, I must reiterate, he's worth it.
I'll give you some of the bigger contracts before this in the NFL quickly. So, Drew Bledsoe, 2001. This is the dreaded Cowboys days. 10 years, $103 million, would end up getting injured that season and replaced by Tom Brady. Oh, that was the Patriots, not the Cowboys. Excuse me. But yeah, you get the point. 10 years.
Everybody in Foxborough just shut up out of bed.
Oops. Oh, well. No one cares. The Patriots fans don't care about Brady anyway. But 2002, the next year. Now, this is the same thing that happened. Donovan McNabb, if you remember correctly, in 2002, he had 2 years left on his contract. They gave him a 10-year extension. So it was 12 years, $115 million. Is that hard to believe that Donovan McNabb, who's the biggest basket case in the entire world?
Basket case, yes, but in terms of on-field production, it's definitely debatable. And then ask an Eagles fan. I'm really not the person to ask because.
Well, yeah, you're a Giants fan, so you don't want anything to do
I'm a Giants fan, so that's really anathema to me.
So, and then I'll give you one more. Now, do you remember the dreaded situation with the Vikings back in the early 2000s that they got in trouble for?
Was it? Let's see if I can remember my Vikings thing. I know I'm a Vikings adjacent fan, so.
I'll say cruise ship.
Oh, it's a damn it, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name.
No, but it was the sex cruise ship violation.
Oh yeah, the thing.
Do you remember who the quarterback was?
It's on the tip of my tongue. I'm blanking.
I think it was Dante Culpepper.
Oh my God, Dante Culpepper! I forgot.
So in 2003, Dante Culpepper signed a 10-year, $102 million contract.
Damn. But you know what? This is going to be, again, this is now going to be the benchmark. So every quarterback who lights up statistics and wins a Super Bowl like these guys, like Mahomes just did, now you're going to have to open up the coffers to pay him. And I didn't think the Chiefs were willing to offer him that money, so I guess props to them until, of course, they pay him the money. Because right now it's all hypothetical. It remains to be seen whether they'll actually pony up.
Oh, it's so crazy. I mean, like you said, Mahomes, they could cut him midway if he's not playing well. But final topic, quickly, 2 minutes here. This is the weirdest topic yet. The whole NFL bans the jersey swap after games.
So you think this is going to let you start the season quicker? And again, done in the name of public health, but you think this is going to be the X factor that allows you? Okay, now we can play. You are sorely mistaken.
I mean, So we're seeing in the NBA bubble, we're seeing players who are shooting around with one another, but we can't do jersey swaps after a game, right?
Can't do jersey swaps, and the entire, I hate to say it, but the entire sport of the NFL is not exactly conducive to social distancing.
Wait a minute. What stops them from doing it in the locker room?
I guess not. I mean, there's no way to enforce it, so I guess you're just going on the honor system.
Yeah, because the NFL is so great on the honor system.
It's like a catch and release program. Stop. Okay, go on again.
All right, as we finish up here, one little thing here, one little programming note. Our co-host who couldn't be here today, Tom Albano, will be...
He's deep in the UFC woods today, so that's where he is. So
he'll actually be doing, as you can see up on our screen now, a UFC 251 post-show, and that's with all the major situations, because we just saw... why is the guy's name going out of my head at the moment?
I hate to say it, Tom, if you're listening, but I can never remember these people's names.
It's so bad.
That's neither here nor there. UFC.
Oh, Jorge Masvidal. That's it.
Jorge Masvidal. Yeah. So UFC 251, the post match show. Tom is going to host that, and he'll be live at 1:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or if you're in another country and are listening to us, whenever that is.
Just watch it afterwards if you want.
So tune in to this channel. We'll be bringing you the UFC coverage you need.
So for Nick Fodera, I'm Nick Morgasen. This was episode 45 of Empty the Bench. Follow us on the platform below. As you can see, it's scrolling. Feels like we're on TV here. But at ETB Sports on Facebook and at Empty the Bench on... ETV Sports on Twitter, Empty the Bench on Facebook. Follow us, and we will be... and our new time slot, because we've been a little crazy as of late, will be Sundays at 7 p.m. So hopefully if there's football, we do a little football pre-show for you right before Sunday Night Football. So as I said, for Nick Fodera, I'm Nick Morgasen. We will see you next week, everybody. Good night.
Good night, everybody!